Guys, we have a new Marvel series to watch this weekend. Aren't you excited? No, it's not Loki. It's Marvel's M.O.D.O.K on Hulu. I'll explain to you whether it's worth watching or not. Let's get into my review. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and yes, today we're talking about Marvel's M.O.D.O.K, which is streaming this weekend on Hulu. It's a 10-episode series with episodes that are very close to that half-an-hour mark, and it's starring Patton Oswalt as M.O.D.O.K. You have Melissa Fumero and Ben Schwartz, along with so many different actors and actresses, and it's directed by Alex Kamer and Eric Towner. Now, this is a show that I haven't heard too much about leading up to it. However, I did see some behind-the-scenes photos and featurettes, and all of it seemed intriguing, and I was curious about this series, but I'll tell you whether or not it's worth you diving into and spending time with this weekend. But before we get into that, if it is your first time here at the channel, guys, welcome to Real James, where I review stuff like this all the time. So if you're a big fan of that, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell and help us get to 5,000 subscribers. Smash that thumbs up button and get loud in the comments down below and let me know what you guys think of this series when you watch it. And if you haven't, did this review convince you to get into it? Oh, and also next week is a busy week, guys. I got reviews for the Rugrats reboot, A Quiet Place Part 2, and Cruella. It's going to be a busy one. Alrighty, guys, so let's dive into M.O.D.O.K. Like I said, it's 10 episodes, it's breezy, they are 24 minutes just about, and it's not going to be something that if you devote your time to, I think you'll feel like, oh my gosh, I have nothing else left to do for the day. However, there are some things that hold it back. Now, I don't want to get too pessimistic. Let's start with the things that worked for me in this series. Now, guys, like I said, this is a 10-episode series. However, I could only get through the first 5, and I will explain why as we get into the negatives. But let's start with what works for my first impressions for Marvel's M.O.D.O.K. Right off the bat, you can just tell that the stop motion animation is impressive, and I absolutely love the amount of detail in each of the character models and the set designs. I think M.O.D.O.K himself looks cool here too. It's just fun, it's zany, and it really fits in with the tone of the series. And I saw some behind the scenes photos like I mentioned, and man, it's impressive to see it in motion. I feel like everyone behind the scenes did a great job, and I loved how everything blended together very well. Even when it got incredibly nuts and there was a ton of action on screen, I think it all looked really good. And I loved how they played with different art styles at times too, like the 2D pixel art in episode 5, and like I said, guys, there's a lot of care put into each frame. And guys, from what I've seen, you can just tell that Patton Oswalt gave it his all. He's the perfect fit for M.O.D.O.K, a character that I don't know much about, but I'm gonna be honest with you, this is not the series for me to learn about M.O.D.O.K. This is just M.O.D.O.K being put into a very realistic setting, and I think that Patton Oswalt does a really good job at balancing both the more dramatic angle to the story and also the comedic angle to his character. He gives it 110%, and I loved the fact that he was able to elevate certain scenes and also bring it down to a level where you can relate to the character. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying that either, relating to a character like M.O.D.O.K. But no, I really liked him here, and I think he did well to kind of play nice with his co-stars. Even though it's a show called M.O.D.O.K, he really stepped back in some scenes and gave the spotlight to everybody else, which was really neat. And I think his co-stars did a good job here too. And there were some scene stealers, like John Daly as Super Adaptoid, and that character is insane. I've never heard of this character before, but it can shapeshift into cars, into TVs, and even into a smoothie machine. But John Daly's comedic timing is so impressive here. And honestly, I feel like the comedic timing for a lot of these actors and actresses, they're pretty good, but there are certain elements that really held back our cast, and honestly, it's not their fault for a lot of the shortcomings for the series. And I guess that's a good segue into the negatives, because guys, I could only get through 5 episodes like I told you, because everything else was such a chore, and I'm sorry, I just had to tap out. This show is definitely a mess. And it sucks to say that, because this show does have a promising premise, taking a different, more comedic approach to a Marvel character like M.O.D.O.K, and this show really did remind me of Robot Chicken, and that's not a stretch, because the director here is the animation director, or was the animation director for Robot Chicken. The only thing is, this is Robot Chicken without any of the good jokes. The writing overall is disjointed, guys. It constantly bounces between M.O.D.O.K's company AIM being taken over by an evil corporation named Grumble and M.O.D.O.K's family troubles. That's the thing. See, the story itself is supposed to be more grounded and realistic, but I'm not a fan of how it was executed. It felt to me like they just threw a bunch of ideas on the board and said, let's go ahead and animate it and let's go through with it. That doesn't work though, and that doesn't make for a very coherent story or a very compelling story. And even when they try to dive into some of the subplots with M.O.D.O.K and his wife, I'm sorry guys, it just did not work for me. They should have just committed to being a zany show. They didn't need to add in some of these elements. It almost drags the series down, and honestly, the show does waste a lot of its talent. They just give really bad jokes to awesome actors such as Ben Schwartz and Melissa Fumero, and I just don't think any of the actors are the issue here, guys. It's really the writing, the direction, and the execution that makes Marvel's M.O.D.O.K really a show that I don't think I can tell you I could have stomached another 5 episodes of. And even though these episodes are close to a half an hour, they drag on for what feels like forever. About 10 minutes into pretty much every episode outside of the series premiere, I was completely disengaged. The stories were boring and uninteresting, and nothing on screen, even the action, was enough to really grab me. I had to consistently smack myself in the face and say, no, just pay attention, rewind a couple of seconds, what did I miss? And that's not a good sign for a series like this. With really short episodes, I expected them to pack a punch, but they just did not have that, and there were long stretches where I didn't laugh, let alone chuckle. And this is a comedy series, and if I'm not laughing during a comedy series, that's a problem. And what's disappointing is that I am into dumb humor. I remember growing up enjoying the heck out of Robot Chicken, and I can really dig some stupid jokes every now and then, but none of the character moments were memorable and none of the punchlines were effective. So overall, you guys, I was really interested in this show after seeing behind the scenes photos and how much love was put into the technical side of M.O.D.O.K. But after watching the first 5 episodes, I cannot tell you guys that I recommend this series. Not only did I feel like this show fails in the comedy department, but it tries to build a story that really isn't compelling. And it's shocking that the formula didn't work here because, again, director Alex Kamer worked on Robot Chicken, so I thought that maybe he would bring over some of that effective humor, but guys, it's not found here. Sometimes there are some jokes where I would chuckle, and there are moments where I'm marveling at the technical side of things, but M.O.D.O.K as a series is just not something that I can tell you I could get through another 5 episodes of. But if you are a Robot Chicken fan and you think that maybe you can excuse a lot of the filler in between decent to those bad jokes, then I'd say try the first 3 episodes, but if they don't grab you guys, trust me, it doesn't get better from that point on. So there you have it, guys. That's my real review of M.O.D.O.K. Again, it's a first impressions review because I don't want to lie to y'all. I could not get through another half of this season, but I want to hear what you have to say, and if you think that I need to go ahead and finish the season. If you do, I'll try my best, but man, no promises. Again, we got a busy week next week, but let me know down below in the comments what you guys think of M.O.D.O.K. And hey, if you haven't already, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell so you'll be the first in the comments for any reviews just like this. And we got some reactions next week, guys. I'm finishing up the Dragon Prince Season 2. Can't wait for that. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. And I'll try to avoid people like M.O.D.O.K. Yeah, he seems a little irritable.